Howdy, folks. This is Dr. Richard Owen, and you are listening to the Doc Owen Show. We are very, very glad you joined us. In the studio tonight, we have a full complement that includes...
I'm a surefire. How y'all doing?
And Uncle Bache.
And we are ready to go. We have an excellent show for you tonight. There is a lot of information that we need to purvey to you, and I hope you will take notes probably. So, during some of this, if you don't already have your pencil and pad handy, you may want to step out and get one of our brief commercial interruptions. I'll start off the same way as usual. We are all over the social media. We are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on About Me, we are on Instagram, we are on, I don't know where else we are, but we're all over as Doc Owen Show, DOCOWENSHOW. And predominantly, we are going to really start some activity around the DocOwenShow.com blog. That's our goal for the summertime, is to get that thing up, running smooth, lean, mean, and clean. I'll tell you why that's a major objective a little later on in the show. Tonight we're going to have Uncle Bachi's brief. He's going to give us about 10 minutes of a historical perspective on some things. We're going to finish the interview with Mr. Josh Kaplan that we didn't get to do last week because we had so much to cover. And we're going to talk about things like, presidential elections, activities of former presidents, maybe a little bit about the Benghazi report, and I've forgotten what else, but it really is good information, and exactly like we say, we deliver truth to youth always. So this may not be exactly what you're expecting to hear. So as we get started in our traditional manner, Miss Surefire, give us some inspiration here.
Okay, and tonight's quote, as usual, comes from inspirationaldaily.com, and it's from a gentleman by the name of Pierre Corneille, and he was considered one of the three great 17th century French writers of tragedies.
Okay.
That's pretty interesting. And his quote is, "To win without risk is to triumph without glory."
Let's think about that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To win without risk is to triumph without glory.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no glory in an easy victory.
That's right. Everything that's worth something is hard work,
Aha. Gotcha.
So they say.
Okay. I believe it.
Yeah.
Good.
We
Some
have
words of wisdom there
Thank you.
for Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Considering Brexit. We have not one but two leadership quotes for you tonight. The first is from a fellow by the name of John D. Rockefeller Jr. I'm sure that our audience, the majority of them, don't remember Mr. Rockefeller, so look it up. You've seen his name on a lot of things, and you've heard him referred to as having a lot of money. But he was a very philanthropic guy as well as having a lot of money. I believe that every right implies a responsibility, every opportunity an obligation, and every possession a duty.
That's a good one. I like that.
The responsibility, opportunity thing, I'm a big fan of. And their second quote tonight, also from Crowned Grace International, is by the Sausage King, Jimmy Dean.
I was thinking, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to reach my destination.
There you go.
Okay?
Well,
I like
right
that.
there. Yeah.
I like
You follow
that
me?
one. Yeah.
I mean, so
You have to be flexible.
You totally have to be flexible when
Yeah.
you're sailing because the wind's coming from its own direction.
That's right.
And it may not be exactly the direction you want to go, but there is a way you can put your sails that like the wind, you're still tacking as they call it, in the direction that you want to go. It may not be direct. You may have to go left, right, left, right, left, right. But that's how you do it.
That's right.
Or as they say in the Navy, port starboard, port starboard, port starboard.
Yeah.
Okay. So we really do have a good show tonight. I mean, we're going to lead it off with some things that you need to think about, and when we're going to do that right after Uncle Bocce infuses us with some historical information, as he's always prone to do, and I'm prone to not necessarily question his historic facts, but try to tie them to things that are relevant today. Is that fair?
That you do. Yes,
Okay.
and that is fair.
Okay. Uncle Bocce, take it away, sir.
Yes. Hello, everyone out there. We're having a great time here at the Hilltop Studios. First thing I want to do tonight is I want to correct some history.
You're one of those, huh?
Yes, absolutely. Wherever I read or something about correcting what the media is saying today about certain things, I want to jump on it.
You're not rewriting history. You're correcting a piece of historical information that has been delivered.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. I want
And this
to be real clear.
particular, it was an article written by Tim Brown in the Freedom Post, and he was questioning the media in this recent Orlando shooting.
Yes.
Because they were saying that it's the largest mass shooting in U.S. history. Now, some people, Doc Owen, says, well, maybe it wasn't because we had 9/11, but 9/11 wasn't a shooting.
That's correct.
Okay, so I'm going to correct this. It seems that there was, at the hands of our central government, there was a much larger shooting or massacre, if you want to call it. And this happened in the Wounded Knee Creek on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota.
Okay.
Now, as an aside, these are my notes. That happened in December 29, 1890, during the presidency of Benjamin Harrison. And he was a Republican.
Okay.
Okay, so what happened at Wounded Knee? The central government decided that they wanted to disarm the Lakota Indians for their own safety and protection. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Way too.
Uh-huh. Okay, so what happened was there was one Indian who happened to be deaf. He said, no way, I am not giving up my gun. And because of that, the cavalry said we were just following orders, and they weren't going to tolerate that. Somebody took a shot at something. I don't know exactly what it was, but there was a shot fired.
Right.
The result of that one shot being fired was that nearly 300 men, women, and children lost their lives.
Wow.
Because the central government chose to infringe on
Their gun rights.
their gun rights, which is
Well-
the Second Amendment. Our government, our Bill of Rights gives us that right. So they were literally infringing upon that. And of course, what happened is a democide, which is the same as a genocide. I'm sorry, Doc, you have something to add?
You know what? Towards the end of what you're saying, before you move on to your Texas history.
Yeah.
Well, the statement that is correct and that was first said about the Orlando shooting
Yes, sir.
was that it was the largest, it was the highest death toll inflicted by terrorists since 9/11.
Okay.
That is a true statement, and that's
Okay.
what was out there. Now, I think what's happened is a lot of people have left this word out or put that word in or changed it to this or changed it to that rather than, quote somebody else. They sort of moved it around a little bit. So what you heard about it being the largest, could very well, it was wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, but the absolute facts are is it was the largest terrorist attack since 9/11.
Okay. That's
Keyword terrorist.
that's fine. But
Okay.
the difference between this and that is that this was the central government,
Right.
infringing. And that's
Yep.
just a good word for our politics today.
Well,
because-
the information's out there now that no one in Orlando lost their life until the SWAT team entered the scene.
I heard somebody trying to.
And there were already 5 to 6 police officers inside the venue when the SWAT team came in. Go.
Okay. So with that correction and Doc Owen
Apostrophe
eloquent.
S. Apostrophe S is okay.
Okay,
All right.
that's okay. All right. So last time we were talking, we ended up, with understanding the Payaya Indians and the San Pedro Springs and the Yanaguana, which is refreshing waters. Well,
I thought it stood for boatman.
Yanaguana,
Yeah.
meaning refreshing waters.
Oh,
And that's
okay.
what the boats.
Is that the cruise over there on the river?
It's a river cruise.
Yeah,
The
it's a river
Yanaguana.
cruise.
Right.
I like that one.
Okay. So the native tribes, they resisted the Spanish, and when they did resist the Spanish back in 1690, 1691, the missionaries who were established in Texas, they returned to Mexico, and they abandoned Texas for the next 2 decades.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Then in 1718, San Antonio was established by building the mission,
Yeah.
San Antonio de Valero,
Yeah.
which became known as the Alamo.
Yep.
Significant, the Alamo.
Yep.
Now, Indian raids continued, for almost 3 decades until 1749, when Spanish settlers, they made a peace treaty with the Lipan Apache peoples, and they made peace.
Okay.
Okay? Now,
This was rough country.
yeah, it was very rough country.
Yep.
Now there were still a lot of attacks being made, and they didn't decrease until 1785, when Spain and the Comanche peoples made a peace agreement.
Okay.
Okay. Now, during all this, France formally relinquished its claim to the region of Texas in 1762. Okay, when French Louisiana was ceded to the Spanish Empire.
Oh, well, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it did. However, in 1799, Spain gave Louisiana back to France. And what did France do? Napoleon.
Yeah.
Napoleon had to pay his war debts. So in 1803, he decided to sell the Louisiana Territory to the United States
Okay.
during the presidency of Thomas Jefferson.
So, back in those days, they actually paid their war debts.
Well, I guess they tried.
Interesting concept.
Okay, so there were still more disputes going on, and there was a compromise made in 1819 when Spain ceded Spanish Florida. Remember, we've talked about they ceded Spanish Florida to the United States in return for boundary adjustments. Now, the U.S. claims on the vast Spanish territories west of the Sabine River, all the way over to New Mexico. During the Mexican War of Independence, which was in 1810, 1821, Texas there was a lot of turmoil.
Oh, sure.
Yes, very much a lot of turmoil. So,
Because
Spain-
they didn't know who they were.
yeah,
They didn't know whether
exactly.
they were affiliated with Mexico or they were a free territory or whatever.
Exactly.
Right.
So Spain then was forced to relinquish control of New Spain in 1821. Then Texas became a province of the newly formed nation of Mexico.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And then we're going to talk about the Republic of Texas. What happened, all these tensions came about, and Mexico turned, in the Battle of Gonzales,
Yep.
the fighting broke out throughout Texas, and the Texas Revolution began. The Battle of the Alamo in 1836, 180 Texans held off 4,000 Mexican soldiers. Now, even though they were defeated, Texas declared their independence and formed the Republic of Texas, March 2nd, 1836. And then they, led by General Sam Houston,
Yep.
the Texans defeated the Mexicans at the Battle of San Jacinto, or Jacinto, as our Texans say. San
Correct.
Jacinto.
Correct.
Then Texas became a state because they felt it was better for them to align with the United States. That would give them more protection from Mexico.
Okay. Ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
What in your research, what did you learn, what did you read about why Texans, why the people here wanted independence from Mexico?
What happened was
precipitated that?
Sam Houston established a colony
Yep.
in Texas
Yep.
from non-Mexican,
Yep.
non-Spanish.
They were Americans. They were
Right.
They came from Tennessee. They
Yeah.
came from the South. They came from Georgia. They came from Mississippi. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And of course Mexico didn't like that, so the tensions were high.
Okay.
And the Texans and the Texans were extremely independent.
Well, because they came out here they came to Texas to get away from a tyrannical federal government,
Exactly.
and Mexico originally welcomed them and told them, "We won't treat you that way. We've got territory down here that needs to be settled, and if you'll put up with the Indians and put up with the rain and put
Right.
up with
Exactly.
the stuff that Texans have to put up with, still to this day,
Yeah.
then we'll give you some land."
Yeah.
And then what they started to do was renege on that and try to tell the Texans what to do.
Exactly.
And the good old boys that had just run from a tyrannical government in Washington, D.C. weren't about to kowtow to a tyrannical government out of Mexico City.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
as we say, a fight ensued.
Exactly. And Texas became a state.
Yeah, yeah, it basically became a state. Is that a good stopping point for you?
That is.
Okay, good job. Tell the folks who you are, where you are.
You can reach me at Uncle Baci, that's UNCLEBACI, at DocOwenShow.com. And I'll be happy to hear from you. If you want to dispute
Bingo.
anything that I say, I'm all up for it.
If you're going to dispute anything he says, you better carbon copy me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. We are going to take a very brief little 30-second timeout, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas.
Call 1-800-352-3127. Again, 1-800-352-3127. A fee-based company.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back. You are listening to the Doc Owen Show. Welcome back, or welcome aboard. Before we, go through the rest of the show, including the continuation of our interview with Mr. Josh Kaplan of Vessel News, I have a friend of mine sent me an email, and it was extremely on point. I really liked it. I want to tee it up so that you'll be thinking about it through the rest of the show. All right? And here they are. When you vote for an incumbent, you are perpetuating our government as it is now. Nothing will change. These 3 short sentences tell you a lot about the direction of our current government and cultural environment. Number 1. We are advised not to judge all Muslims by the actions of a few lunatics, but we are encouraged to judge all gun owners by the actions of a few lunatics.
Hear, hear.
Funny how that works. Okay, number 2. Seems we constantly hear about how Social Security is going to run out of money. How come we never hear about welfare or food stamps running out of money? What's interesting is the first group worked for their money, but the second did not. Now think about that.
Yes, sir.
And number 3, why are we cutting benefits to our veterans, no pay raises for our military, and cutting our Army to a level lower than before World War II? But we are not stopping payments to illegal aliens, such as monthly payments for each child, money for housing, food stamps, free education, including college, and also the right to vote.
Thought-provoking.
So
That for sure.
I don't know whether I'm the only one who's missing something or not, but those 3 concepts, statements, just really ring a bell with me. And I want you to think about them. I'll repeat them for you briefly later on in the show as we get to some of the information that we're going to purvey. So, I also told you I would tell you something about Facebook before we listen to Mr. Kaplan. Due to, I'm gonna read you the article here real quick. If you're not familiar, the CEO, founder, brainchild, blah blah blah, today's version of Bill Gates, a fellow by the name of Mark Zuckerberg, came out and ranted and raised all kinds of cane when Donald Trump announced he was going to build a wall across the southern United States. I mean, he used his $100 gabillion, however many he's got, against Trump's $100 gabillion, and they had a shouting match over it on social media, right? And he was totally against the wall. Well, it seems that Mr. Zuckerberg is just one of those persons that is do as I say, not as I do.
There you go.
And he had the money, so he bought a $100 million, 750-acre estate in Hawaii, which included 393 acres of pristine, gorgeous coastline that the natives and the residents around the small island of Kauai had been viewing forever and forever. As they drove down the little country road, they could see the ocean. And, if you've ever been in that environment, you know how pleasant it can be. Well, Mr. Zuckerberg spent the last 6 weeks erecting a 6-foot-high stone wall so that nobody can see. Well, I guess I can't because I'm not over 6 feet tall. But people of a less than 6 feet tall can no longer see the ocean. And you can't see the ocean as you drive down the road. All right. He also bought 2 parcels of land on either side of his new walled-off estate, so he'd have plenty of, buffer, from the rest of us. And the reason I bring that up is to tell you that it took me forever for Doc Owen and the Doc Owen Show to adopt Facebook because I just didn't like it. I didn't trust it. There was something about it that I just didn't like. I am now back to my original thought process. You will see us doing less and less and less on Facebook and more and more and more on DocOwenShow.com, which we do own and do not intend to build a wall around it. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to lay that out there. I'm not saying we're going to get off of Twitter, but there's a thing that you have to, an old saying, put your money where your mouth is. Do what you know to be right and support the folks that you know to be right. There's a website I really like, or an app on my phone called Second Vote, which before I go buy something or before I go spend any money, I can go on to Second Vote and find out the conservative index of a particular business. Okay? And I got this probably a long time ago. I may have told you the story when Datsun first introduced their little car called the 240Z. It was really hot back in the, late 60s, I guess it was. And I had to have one. I was 20-something years old, just out of the Naval Academy. I had to have one of these little hot rods. And I went home and told my dad that that's what I thought I was going to buy. And his immediate response was, "Oh, yeah, from the same friendly people that brought you World War II. I have never, ever driven a Japanese car. It pains me to ride in one. They didn't do anything to me. Well, my dad kind of, got me in that mindset. Well, Zuckerberg is doing the same thing to me on Facebook. Not that I'm going to put him out of business, or not that I'm going, it means he's not going to know who I have the slightest idea who I am, but I'm going to sleep better at night, and I'm going to be able to tell my friends, no, I don't do that, and here's why.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm personally, myself, too, I'm not a big fan of Facebook because they try to, be certain way and what have you, but yet there's things that people have their accounts on that they don't even have access to, who's looking at you on Facebook. You don't know who's looking at you on Facebook. That's why they make everything private.
It's not just that too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and our friend Pastor Greg Young.
Oh yeah, poor man.
His Facebook profile was Pastor Greg Young. They made him take the pastor off of it. He had to go to just being Greg Young. He can't. Seriously.
That's ridiculous.
They made him drop his Facebook. He can no longer name his Facebook page Pastor Greg Young, and he'd had it for however long. He's he's a radio guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a preacher as well, but we know him from the radio business. Yeah. So nothing.
Yeah.
Just
I'm not going to do it tomorrow, but we're gonna wean ourselves away.
Mm-hmm.
Just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Before you got going.
Yes, sir.
Would you say that Mark Zuckerberg, what he has done, the contrast between the Mexican wall and the border wall and his wall, would you consider that a lack of integrity, or is there some other word that's better used for that?
Well, the word that's always bantered around is hypocritical.
Hypocritical.
In other words, he's telling you to do one thing and he's going to do another.
Okay.
I don't consider it a lack of integrity because he never told anybody he wasn't going to build a wall.
Okay, gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
I understand that. Yes.
But it's certainly hypocritical, and his Facebook page is the same way. It's social media, and it's where you should go and post and tell and brag and do this and everything, as long as he agrees with it. If he and his administration do not agree with it, then they won't let you post that information. It happens all the time, and sooner or later, I for one just need to take a stance.
Absolutely.
So
Proud of you.
Well, it's really not that hard to do. It's a nice tool. It does work real well, but
you don't own it either.
You don't own it.
No.
And he could wake up tomorrow and go, "You're gone.
Yeah.
You're dead."
And there he is behind that wall.
And he's behind the wall, and I can't even see over to know what he looks like.
Not many of us can.
Okay. All right. Let's listen to, if you'll remember this gentleman that you're going to hear, we had to kind of cut him short last time, and I'm allowed to use that word. We had to cut him off a little bit last time in terms of the interview. It wasn't really a smooth segue just because we were running out of time. His name is Josh Kaplan, and he's the editor-in-chief of Vessel News. I think it's CA, if I'm not mistaken. We'll tell it. .io. That's what it is. He's from Canada. He's not here in the U.S. But he's got a really cool concept going on in terms of a news outlet, and I want him to finish his story. So here's our friend Josh Kaplan. Let's talk about Vessel a little bit. We're having a good time with the politics, and I appreciate that. But I was real intrigued by your website and your approach and what you're doing. You're not just crowdfunding, but it seems like you're also going to be doing some, shall we say, crowdsourcing. In other words, you invite authors, you invite people with opinions that they're willing to support with facts and information and links in their blog, etc., to add content to your Vessel News, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, is that going to be your primary source, or do you will contribute? Obviously, do you have a core that you've kind of put together that you expect to add content to your blog?
Sure. So our content strategy.
There you go.
Our content strategy is as follows. The first is we're going to be publishing original content on a daily basis, either written by myself or journalists throughout the United States. And we'll have a fair bit of that on a daily basis. The second avenue that we're going to be exploiting is syndicated content. So there are content providers throughout the world, whether it be Chicago Tribune or it's the China Morning Post. They're enabling us, we have partnerships with them, to be taking articles of interest from their publications and posting them on our website.
Nice.
Which many different news destinations do. And the third thing, which is almost a Drudge Report-esque strategy, is to literally post stories that link to third-party content providers.
Okay.
And yes.
Where'd you learn how to do all this?
Self-taught, many times just sitting in front of a computer and just browsing the internet, talking to folks, and then at the end of the day, you've got to amalgamate all this knowledge and just use your best judgment and hope that it works.
Folks, for my audience, predominantly U.S.-based, if you're not familiar, Canadians are snowed in approximately 6 months a year. They can't move. They're locked in their cabins. They have little apartments they cannot get out of, so they must depend on learning things and reaching out to the world via the internet. That's why they're so big. I'm teasing with you, Josh. But frightfully, I used to explain that to my clients here in the United States as to why our technical people were in Canada and why they were so good. And you'd be surprised how many people were like, oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Well, good for you.
I also bounced ideas off with my pet polar bear. That was...
There you go. Now we're talking.
My other...
Now we're talking. So you've got... That's really cool. I mean, you're creating a vessel. You're creating a hub that, is going to monitor, contribute, and reach out on... From a conservative perspective. I think those are your words, not mine.
Yes, sir.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. And sort of bring all that together, even on a global perspective, not just a U.S. North American perspective. When you mention China, there are, I guess, I'm a little surprised due to my lack of exposure to Chinese news, et cetera, are there things that would be of interest to conservative Americans of a positive nature coming out of China? Yeah.
Yes, so from a foreign policy standpoint,
okay.
It's been a common ongoing theme of the current president that our outreach to other nations is limp-wristed. Our approach in trying to exercise our military might has been limp-wristed. And holistically, if we take a look at this president's approach, the world has been made a lot less safer than it was years ago. And one of the primary adversaries of the United States, which has been for many years, has been China.
Yep.
They're aggressively expanding their monitor and their reach of the South China Sea. And this is causing a lot of duress between the Japanese, the Taiwanese, the South Korean, and I'm sure you know this, is that they've pledged allegiance to Taiwan. So if there's any military disruption between China and Taiwan or Japan and the United States, it's rest assured there's going to be blood. So if our president is allowing for China to flex its military might, I think this is of interest to the American populace because they're going to see once again that the president is allowing our adversaries to gain more ground. So I certainly think that international news, as it pertains to specifically foreign policy and foreign affairs, are very, very interesting.
You're a very bright young man. I like it. You've really you've challenged yourself, I assume, and therefore you challenge others, which is a good thing. I think it's great. Josh, what more can we do to help? What would you like to put out there to our listening audience to kind of get their interest in your project and see if they will go out to Indiegogo and either make a contribution or join in your efforts?
Well, I'd like to unpack the overarching mission of Vessel News and to direct them to where they could contribute. Vessel News primarily a website for younger conservatives, for conservative millennials, although it does appeal to all different ages, as we've both seen and heard.
Yes.
What we're trying to do is combine two of, in my opinion, the most transformative forces in America today, which is anti-establishment conservative politics, the rise of Trump, Cruz, Rand Paul, the Tea Party, etc., and then everything that's going on in Silicon Valley, all of the innovation, the artificial intelligence, the automation, virtual reality. What we're trying to do is show young conservatives that we don't have to be adversarial toward technology, even though we don't like our free speech being infringed upon, Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey, but that conservatives shouldn't be fearful, yet they should be excited about technology. So from a political side, fighting for all this freedom and liberty, and when we talk about technology and then some of the business and food articles that we'll be posting, we want to demonstrate to our audience how to execute and apply that liberty.
I like it. You're going to be. I hope, but you're going to be very successful. There's no hope to it. You've got a strategy and a concept that's a home run. Do you know a young lady by the name of Katie Kiefer? Have you heard that name?
I have not.
I will formally introduce the two of you via an email. She is a young millennial. She has written a book. We talked to her, read her book, and talked to her very early when it came out. She's on Fox News from time to time. She's a really bright young lady, and I need to hook the two of y'all up. You'd have a lot of synergy and a lot of things to, just because you're in the same group and you're after the same audience. And that's the reason, that was my interest, because my audience, my target audience is 16 to 30 years old. I qualify to be in that group mentally. I just learned how to snowboard about 4 years ago, and I won't tell you at what age, but let's just say that the standard response on the slope was, holy crap. Why are you doing this? And I was like, because I don't know how. So I would really look forward to having the opportunity to chat with you again. I hope the door will stay open, and as I said, I will try to create something that's worthy of being out there on Vessel News. I
appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, it really makes me feel good to hear what you're saying. You are right on target. Right on target. So, one more time, give the information to the audience about your crowdfunding campaign, and make sure that they know how to get a hold of you.
So, for Vessel News to be up and running, fully launched, we've got to raise $50,000. We could certainly do it. We will do it.
Oh, yeah.
You can head over to Indiegogo.com. That's INDIEGogo.com. They type in Vessel News, DESSEL News. They'll be able to contribute any dollar amount they feel comfortable.
And get some swag in return, right?
Absolutely.
Mr. Kaplan, thank you very much. I would hope to cross paths with you someday soon.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
I'll see you soon. Thanks, Jeff. Jeff, I keep doing that. Why? You got to change your name.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 877-212-5898. Again, 877-212-5898. That's 877-212-5898. 877-212-5898.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. You are listening to the Doc Owen Show. We are glad to have you. Okay, I told you I had 3 statements. I'm not going to remind you of all 3 as we head into the rest of the show, but a couple of them I want you to remember. When you vote for an incumbent, you are perpetuating our government as it is now. Nothing will change. And we are advised not to judge all Muslims by the actions of a few lunatics, but we are encouraged to judge all gun owners by the actions of a few lunatics. Okay? Neither one of those make much sense. I want to talk about Benghazi, and I want to talk about some strength. As the millennials told me forever and forever when Benghazi was going on that they were tired of hearing about it because this has been going on for a couple of years. The Benghazi report that has been put together by a special investigative committee in the House of Representatives, led by a fellow by the name of Trey Gowdy, is an 808-page report that itemizes details, goes into everything that happened in and around the attack on the United States consulate in Benghazi, Libya, 9/11/2012. Mm-hmm. Really? 4 years ago? Mm-hmm. Wow. Mm-hmm. I'm not tired of hearing about it, and I'll tell you why. Because there are those of you actually among us. I happen to be one of them that knew the minute that it happened, it was a terrorist attack. Mm-hmm. And then our government came out and told us that it was just a protest against a video that 9 people had watched in the entire world. It was a bald-faced lie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
The Benghazi report proves, without a shadow of a doubt, in 808 pages worth of questions and answers, that they knew, they being the federal government, mm-hmm. the Secretary of State at the time, Hillary Rodham Clinton, and her minions, and President Obama and his minions, mm-hmm. all knew at the time they were telling us a lie. That's why it should be easy to remember the date, because the reason they were doing it was because it was September 11th mm-hmm. before a November the 8th election, and it was all about the politics. It was all about keeping a lid on their inability to run the government so Barack Obama could get reelected. So they put together this lie, all right? Mm-hmm. And there's a fellow on Fox News all the time by the name of Judge Andrew Napolitano. And Judge Napolitano has a tendency to tell it like it is. He says it is not disputed and not disputable that Hillary Clinton knew the truth and lied about it and perpetuated the lie for weeks after Benghazi. We know that because we have seen an email she sent to her daughter, Chelsea, lamenting in the email in a brief way a fair and accurate description of what happened. We were attacked. We were defenseless. She didn't use those words, but that's the essence of it. They were defenseless because she failed to provide them the defenses as Secretary of
That's
State.
right.
The second thing is that Judge Napolitano says is the committee does not go to the point does not go to this point, and the committee does not ask, where did the weapons come from? The weapons came from Hillary Clinton's secret or approved by President Obama consented effort to buy leadership in both houses and both political parties to rid Libya of Colonel Gaddafi. Okay? They conspired to get rid of Gaddafi. And they armed the rebels. Remember, we were going to provide air support, but not ground support. So they gave the guns that were used against us, we gave them. Mm-hmm. The guns that murdered Chris Stevens and others at Benghazi, we gave them. Okay? We were never told that. But it came out in the report. The point is, to me, they lied. Plain and simple. All right? And apparently there's a lot of people who don't care. I'll get into that in a minute. Are you aware? So Hillary Rodham Clinton is under investigation for illegal use of email server in her own house, okay, which is against the law, plain and simple, particularly as Secretary of State. All right, she lied about Benghazi. Those are two facts that we know. I'm not going to go into the 3,212 things that are difficult to prove, but are probably true. Okay. It just so happens that Bill Clinton pulled up his private airplane, jet, 727 or whatever it is, to the Sky Harbor Airport in Phoenix, Arizona a couple of days ago. And guess who he parked beside? Attorney General Loretta Lynch. The woman responsible for charging Bill Clinton's wife, the presidential candidate, for either what she did at Benghazi or for the email scandal. They just happened to both be on the ground in their 727 jets at the same time.
What a coincidence.
What a coincidence.
That's just too much of a coincidence.
Right. And Bill went over to Attorney General Lynch's plane just to say hello and talk about his grandchildren and the game of golf that he'd had that morning out somewhere around Phoenix. Folks, please. You know, the mind boggles that any idiot would believe these stories.
Exactly.
One of two things happened on that plane. They either made it, and besides that, besides the investigation into Hillary Clinton, there's a huge Attorney General's investigation going on into the Clinton Foundation, which is Bill Clinton. I'm not a lawyer, but I know enough of them, thank goodness, but I know enough of them and have been around them long enough to know that the Attorney General has absolutely no right. No, she has a responsibility not to talk to Bill Clinton while there's an investigation going on about him. The FBI, her personal military, her personal police force is investigating these people, and she's meeting with them plane to plane. But all they talked about was the grandkids. It had nothing to do with the investigations that are going on or the consequences or how we spin this or what can we tell the public or la-di-da-di so that Hillary can continue to run her campaign. Or the fact that the Clintons have supposedly murdered over 30 people, and I can't believe he would threaten the Attorney General of the United States. Yeah, okay, I can.
Yeah, that's a new one too.
Yeah, think about that. And while this is going on, the Federal Bureau of Investigation is questioning Hillary Clinton's IT guy, information technology guy, her techie, that set up and ran and supported the email server, who, even though he had immunity, decided to plead the Fifth Amendment, which is refusing to answer on the grounds that it might incriminate himself, 125 times during the investigation. This article says, are people that support Hillary or Obama really that dumb? Or are they so morally depraved that they know every word Obama or Hillary utters is a lie, but they're willing to overlook it because they think they're getting something for free?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Pathetic.
Oh, this is the one where, okay. That was the article where they met on the plane. And this was another interesting article about the Washington is buzzing after news broke late yesterday that former President Bill Clinton met privately with Attorney General Loretta Lynch earlier this week. According to CBS News, President Clinton saw the Attorney General on the tarmac and wanted to say hello, so he boarded her plane to talk. I'm sure he had a lot on his mind that he wanted to discuss with the Attorney General. Man. How do they think we're supposed to buy that?
That's crazy.
They'll simply try anything. There's a fellow by the name of Sebastian Gorka out there, Gorka, and he has a plan to defeat ISIS. And just in case you question who he is a Marine Corps University professor, okay, that knows what he's talking about. Major General Matthew C. Horner, Distinguished Chair of Military Theory at the Marine Corps University. Here are his 3 bullet points. It's a very simple plan. You must identify the enemy. You must empower your allies. And you must delegitimize the ideology of jihad. All right? So item number 1 is where the contention has been between Trump and Obama. Identify the enemy. You must name the enemy. Right?
Exactly.
That's why the war on drugs never went anywhere. Who was our enemy? Drugs? No. We never named the enemy. We never used the names of the cartels that were running the drugs. Right? Same principle. Same thing going on with jihad. Okay. Department of Homeland Security stonewalls on the purge of intel offensive to Muslims. The Department of Homeland Security, as we know, purges anything that it might be offensive to the Muslims. Okay? Remember that statement earlier on about, not offending them and the crazy gun lunatics and blah, 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 right? Okay. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because Ted Cruz, local senator and former presidential candidate, questioned Jay Johnson, I think his name is. Yeah, Jay Johnson, the guy that's the DHS secretary. I get mad just looking at him. He just always got this smirk on his face. He just, like, you can't touch me. Ask me anything you want, but I'm going to tell you anything I want to, and you can't touch me. Just like the IRS lady, all right? Anyway, Cruz used a term that I had to look up. It was the administration's Orwellian approach to jihad. So I had to look up what that meant. It is an adjective describing a situation, idea, or societal condition that George Orwell identified as being destructive to the welfare of a free and open society. It denotes an attitude and a brutal policy of draconian control by propaganda, surveillance, misinformation, denial of truth, and manipulation of the past, including the unperson, a person whose past existence is expunged from the public record and memory practiced by modern repressive governments. Now we know, nailed it, and now we know why Mr. Cruz was at the top of his class. I mean, I've heard Orwellian all my life, but I wanted to look up. Front row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.